When Frank Lloyd Wright spoke about houses, he spoke about them in terms of refuge and prospect. The house was a refuge from a potentially hostile outside world. But once inside, the inhabitants needed some kind of prospect, a view out. And so the prospect was out reconnecting with nature, with the natural world, which of course originally was about also keeping an eye on any potential enemies who might turn up, but now it's more about that external world connection. But also internally, there's internal prospect, because within the house, in order not to feel too claustrophobic or constrained, it's wonderful to have a view across a space and see glimpses of other spaces, so that the house has a kind of story to tell. This house that I'm in Mosman in Sydney, designed by Alex Popov, is a wonderful illustration of refuge and prospect. I met up with Alex at the house, which he describes as an urban retreat. So I asked him what he meant by that.
An urban retreat can mean a number of things. A retreat means to escape from something. And in an urban situation, I think it's a return to a home away from the troubles of an intense urban environment. So in this case, you start off with a blank, long concrete wall to say, I'm closed off from my environment. I go through a narrow opening, I turn left, and I enter the building. So there's a sequence in saying that you arrive at a certain distance along a path, you enter a domain that you're not clear about what it may inhold or what it contains, and then you are led through just a couple of moves before the space is revealed. And as you reveal the space here, it's just one great big vault rather than a succession of vaults.
Now, it seems to me that your houses are becoming more simple. In some ways you could say they're assembled almost from a kit of parts. So tell us a little bit about how this house is assembled.
Well, as you get older, if things become, you narrow the experiences you've had down to a few fundamentals, I guess. So it does become simpler and simpler in terms of trying to achieve the same experiences of spatial qualities with fewer gestures. In this case, you've got a big wall, a vault, and you extend that vault and then break it in the center. So I think there are just a few moves here that are fundamental to understanding this project or this house instantly, that you have four major columns and a wall, and then there's a vault that spans that. So there are no columns internally, the whole thing just sits inside that vault. The difficulty in this sort of spatial arrangement is the size of the vault, because normally these spaces would have double vaults or triple vaults. In planning an interior, I think that you want to entertain the idea or have an expectation of what it is you come to see or want to know about the house when you enter. Obviously, the first thing you do is to gradually arrive, but the moment you've arrived through that sequence is to see the view, to say, yes, I'm here, this is where this house sits in its position, because you don't know from the street what it's doing, because it doesn't relate to the street in terms of any visual communication. So once you're inside the building, you say, I'm breaking this up. To the right, I sit down. To the left, I have dinner, and I've got the kitchen behind me. Then there's a blank wall or a wall, and that means there's a bedroom. So it's quite easy to understand in terms of, because it's a typical modern era house. I mean, in the open planning system, you know, that you've got a long tube, if you like, and then you break it down into its component parts, and then you separate it and use the vault to describe it, or to tie it all together.
The long vaulted living, dining, kitchen space is certainly the hub of the house, but there is also an upper and a lower level. Upstairs is what Alex calls the terracotta box, part home office, part entertainment space and part reading room. Alex disappears to a meeting, leaving me to roam the house. The master bedroom on the middle level is a sun-drenched space with 180-degree views and opening onto the terrace. The joinery unit separates the bedroom from the bathroom, which continues the theme of industrial polished concrete, matching more refined detailing. From the terrace you can look down to a nice detail contrasting the off-form concrete with a stone wall, as well as the garden and the swimming pool. Down here at pool level is the children's territory, their bedrooms and their own recreation area. I leave the house the way I came in, through the serene entry with its contrasting timber and concrete. This is the first integrated project by Popov Bass Architects, where they've designed both the house and its interiors, an opportunity to create a unified aesthetic. Certainly this house is a refuge, not so much by walling itself off from the outside, but by warmly embracing everyone who enters it, with its considered finishes, its fine detail and its beautifully flowing spaces.